Get your films on with the Blerds.
Once an idea has taken hold of the brain, it's almost impossible to eradicate.
Unpacking movies has never been more spot on, woke, fire, and just plain lit.
They are lit all the time.
So if you're unsure whether or not to plop down some cash for a film, check out the Blerds.
When a man with a 45 meets a man with a rifle, the man with a pistol is a dead man.
Brondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolyte.
You really only need to hang mean bastards. But mean bastards, you need to hang.
Don't say you weren't warned.
Ridiculous.
Here's Brandon and Jeff.
Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Film Blerds. I'm Jeff Stewart, a.k.a. Uncle Jeffrey, a.k.a. Ebony Spielberg, a.k.a. The Final Boss. In preparation for the Season 4 premiere of Apple Plus's Mythic Quest, we were able to sit down with the creative team and cast of the workplace comedy. First up, we have Danny Pudi and Imani Hakim.
How you doing, Jeff?
Hi, Jeff.
I'm good. Thanks for joining me. I'm loving this season. It's fantastic. I binged it in a night, even though I shouldn't have.
Yes, same.
So it seems like one of the themes running throughout this season has been change, evolution, right? Like, how did you see your character evolving over the course of not only this season, but the show? And, like, were there things that you were excited about playing with? Character-wise or whatnot, going into season 4.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I know for me, I've had questions about Brad, and coming into season 4, I was talking to Megan, and specifically, I just had some thoughts about Brad and the masks he has, and what is he willing to reveal in or out of the office. And I've always wanted to see a little bit more of Brad out of the office, and what does that look like for him? Because there's no evidence of his personal life at the office. And that's been really fun for me to play, where there's, for Brad, that's considered a vulnerability to show any kind of personal material. But I wondered, like, well, what is he like outside the office? And so that's something we kind of touch on a little bit this year, which I was very excited about. And I think it is part of this evolution. I was just more curious about, like, who is he with someone who knows him a little bit better? Like, and that's something we kind of touch on. And I think also just we've known each other now for 4 years, and, 2 seasons ago, we were trying to work together as like in streaming and remember, and I was like, yeah, we had that whole situation. True. And now it's like, there's a whole new power dynamic happening here. And Brad has to become this sort of almost like mentor or father figure. And he finds himself maybe unwilling or, but he has to be like, is it my time to start passing on some information, some knowledge, some villainy to the next generation? So I think it is sort of this evolution of Brad. Like, what is his legacy? Season 1, he's like, this is not my legacy, this game. But I think now there's a little bit of like, well, what is my legacy now? I think he's thinking about that.
Yeah. I think speaking of questions with Dana, she started at this low-ranking role within the company as a game tester, and if looking back at season 1, you could just tell that her confidence was much different than it is now. And I forgot about like the streaming.
When I was like, this camera, no, this camera, no, this camera, no, this camera.
Yeah, she's evolved so much. But also for her, it's just like finding that balance of one, she works with her partner, her romantic partner, Rachel. So how do you still keep those boundaries and still, climb the ranks within the company? And so I think Dana has just been bitten by this bug to really bet on herself, and she's not shying away from that, and she teams up with Brad and Joe, who really light that fire under her and like encourage her to really push the boundaries.
Very, very, very cool. So I know you probably can't answer this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you have a favorite episode for this season?
Ooh. Honestly, I like your episode, the poker episode. I like. Well, it's a Danny heavy episode. I really like that. It was just so much fun. It kind of it takes us away from like the usual format of MQ with the voiceovers and stuff.
Yeah,
and so
yeah, it's a
and
little
then I'm
departure.
just such a Danny fan. He's such a talented actor.
Marty, I'm uncomfortable with compliments. You're amazing. You're the one who's amazing.
So it was so much fun to watch, and you're just hilarious, and the dramatic elements. It's just so good.
That's awesome. I love this love that you got going on right here.
I would say mine
so
is that our we have kind of like a standalone Agatha Christie Traders episode.
Oh yes, that's good.
That to me, I mean, I can't.
that's
I
my
don't want
favorite
to say
as
anything
well.
else about it, but that to me just felt like so different. And again, it's also kind of a departure in a different way. But there's also, which I love about this season, is that yes, they're departures, but there's always a little bit of like a character. Like it's always like hinged or like there's like this character moment in every one of those episodes that is actually really part of the evolvement of everyone, I think, and especially in that episode, I think it's really touching.
Yeah.
Up next, David Hornsby and Charlotte Nicado.
How are you doing today?
Good, thanks. How are
Very
you?
I'm doing well.
Nice.
So, Charlotte, we'll start with you. So you've been living in this character for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
At this point, you probably know the character better than the creators. What kind of input did you have in season 4 when it had to do with Poppy's arc?
I mean, I feel so lucky that right from the beginning, that I've always been invited into the process of what's going on for Poppy. The writers do such an amazing job of carrying her journey through each season, but there have always been little things like Poppy wasn't originally going to be Australian. So when I was cast and we decided she would be Australian, there were conversations about how that would influence the character. I feel like there are even conversations further in about her being Filipina, that that was always a great open conversation. And so this season, I feel like we almost, without saying too much, I feel like we almost take it to a new level in terms of the surprising new things going on for Poppy. And, you know, she has a boyfriend in the first season. So right off the bat, we're seeing a completely new side of Poppy that I honestly never expected to see Poppy with a boyfriend or a partner of any kind that wasn't Ian. And I don't think Ian ever expected to see that either. So I think it puts her and Ian's relationship in a very interesting place that we explore throughout the season to very surprising effect. I don't want to say too much more than that.
Mum's the word. David, you are a writer on the show, actor, producer. Does that make working easier or harder for you on a show like this?
It makes it more fulfilling. I think maybe you might know or not that a lot of our actors, including Charlotte, started directing this season and last season. And I think anytime you're able to craft as much as you can, and Charlotte can speak to this, and have another way to express your creativity in a show and have ownership of it, the more fulfilling it is. So it's more fulfilling to kind of have your hand in several pots and be able to shape it.
All right, awesome. So what I took away from this season, the main theme is growth and evolution, right? Did you feel that way? Was that the day one? Was that the doctrine that was put out there? Is like these characters are growing, they're being they're beating their final form, so to say, or they're getting closer to that. Was that the feeling on set that you've been together for 4 seasons and you're finally starting to like become real people?
Well, this season we wanted to make sure we really brought the show back to what the heart of it, the show, putting the characters back together on the same, piece of carpet, and also pushing each character, smoking them out a little bit, giving Poppy a boyfriend, seeing what that does to, it's an alchemy, seeing what it does to the Ayn and Poppy relationship. That's the heart of our show, and we want to keep pushing that and exploring new angles. I think, even with Brad's character, we're seeing sides of him we've not seen. So while we're kind of get back to the heart of what makes Mythic Quest fun, we're also, I think, trying to push the characters into new dynamics and discover surprising new things about them. It's what makes it interesting for us as the writers and creators to explore new sides of the characters.
Yeah, and I think with Poppy, you really find her at the beginning of the season in a place that we've never seen her before, where she has a personal life now and she's maybe happy for the first time in her life. And I think there's an inherent growth to being in that state. But also, if you think about a full grown adult woman who has never really been happy, I don't think that that's her final form. I think that it's the beginning of something potentially even more chaotic and ridiculous and wonderful.
Right. It's hard to talk about the show without spoiling some of these major surprises that are in store. So for each of you, what's your favorite episode this season?
I mean, we did an episode this season that was like a 1940s murder mystery episode, and any opportunity to dress up is, I'm an actress, so I'm like, put a costume on me. But also that episode was so fun because it's rare that we really get the entire ensemble in a room together for an entire episode. And pretty much that whole episode was all of us on set in this amazing location, laughing a lot, probably more than we should have been laughing, at least on my part. That was definitely a highlight of the season for me.
I think two highlights of the season for me is being in front of a congressional committee with Rachel, just because the stakes are so high, and it's such a conflux of these personalities coming together. Rachel's virtues being tested. And David's worst nightmare, literally a character who wants to blend into the furniture, being smoked out. So that was really fun to play. And then the other thing that pops in my head is standing buck naked next to Rob on a beach. Was also a memory I'll never forget.
I'll never forget it either. So yeah, that's my time. I just want to say how much I'm enjoying this season. Fantastic work, and hopefully we'll get a season 5. I want to see I want to see what happens next.
The fruits of season 4.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate
it.
Thank you very much.
We are joined by Jesse Ennis and Naomi Ekperijan.
How's everyone doing today?
We're doing well, thanks, Jeff.
Good.
How are you?
Blurred to blurred. How you doing, Jeff?
Oh, there we go. Blurred life. So just starting off the bat, if I knew your two characters were in real life, I would do everything to avoid them. But because of the writing and your performances, the way you approach things, you're like remarkably relatable and kind of endearing. And enduring. How do you ride that fine line? How do you approach your characters to make them almost villainous, but not quite? Like, what's the process
Well,
there?
I think you should go first, almost villainous.
I think I just try to keep it as human and grounded as possible. I mean, we're doing really ridiculous things, so the fact that it works out is really luck, and also a testament to our writing and our editors, because we give them a lot of options and they just figure out how to kind of sculpt this puzzle piece that that seems like a real human. But yeah, we just try to keep it like as realistic as possible while we're doing these ridiculous things.
Right, definitely. And I think too, especially in season 4, because Carol is really, kind of off the rails a bit. She's a little off the rails. But I think that, like, we all have a messy friend or have been the messy friend. And when you're in that mess, you don't think you're messy, right? Like, no one actually says, like, I'm acting crazy and it's fun. You're literally like, I'm trying to survive, or I'm trying to manage, or I'm trying to feel something. And then you take actions that are not right. And I think when you kind of just stay true to the reality of that, it's like easy. So that way you don't hate her too much. You know, you're kind of like, okay, Carol, you a mess, but I've been there.
Fair enough. What had you excited about season 4? You know, besides the paycheck.
I think it was the chance to be messy for me. Just doing something, you know, Carol, you know, first 3 seasons, Carol's doing her thing where people come to her and are taking care of her. I mean, or she's taking care of them. And then in this season, you know, Carol, her walls kind of crumble down. She's really kind of trying to figure it out. And there's just a new, you know, perspective on the character that was fun to play. But why don't you tell us about your journey, honey? You had a journey.
Yeah, I loved Joe's journey this season. We got to see what it's like for her to graduate working for David, which is kind of like going to kindergarten and then immediately going to business school when she starts working for Dana, who's a really great match for her because she's equally power hungry. And I love seeing the way that Joe's able to assist Dana in all of her craziness. It's a really fun duo. And then we watch Joe go through this sort of existential crisis about who she really wants to be and what her true calling in life is. And we have straightforward. My favorite thing that we did this season was the murder mystery episode called Villain's Feast, episode 4, where I got to have a dialect coach and do a British accent. We were all in kooky costumes and had fun hair. And so that was really an exciting thing. And I can't wait for people to see that.
Yeah, episode 4, I have to say, is my favorite of the season.
Ours too.
So what's if you had your druthers, if you could be in the writer's room for season 5, what would you like to see happen next season?
I don't have any specific story like movements or points, but I think part of what we like so much about Murder Mystery is not simply, the costumes, the setting, but everybody getting to be together, right? Like that's the episode where you get the whole main cast in the space and we're all kind of going back and forth and playing. Mm-hmm. And any chance to do that, to get everybody together like that, is the best part.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I think, we leave season 4 in such an exciting way. I really can't wait to see the follow through because I've heard Megan say that she has this theory that if you like blow the show up at the season finale and you leave it in a place where you don't know how you'll like repair it for the next episode, coming back off of a season, that it always makes for the best TV. And I really think that they do this season. So I really hope we go back for a 5th season and we get to see what ends up happening because I'm curious.
Yeah, that cliffhanger was cliffhanger.
It was hanging.
Yeah. So that's my time. Thank you so much. I've loved the show. Season 4 is a highlight. You did great work, and I can't wait for season 5. Knock on wood. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Last but not least, Megan Gans and Ashley Birch.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How's everyone doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yeah.
First of all, love season 4. Love what you guys did with it. Megan, so when you were planning season 4, when you walked into the writer's room, what was like the idea? What was the doctrine? What was like, how did you command the room? What did you say?
I was like, we're doing this again. No, they've let me back into the building.
Everyone shut up.
It's really great. No, we went in. We felt, first of all, really fortunate. It was post-strike. We were supposed to start the writer's room right at the start of the strike, and then we obviously paused. So by the time we got back in there, we felt really fortunate and grateful to have a job to go back to right on the other side of that strike. And just to be in a room and making funny stuff with people that we love felt like such a blessing. So there was that. But the doctrine was a lot of like some things that happened that kind of gave us mile markers for the season, like things we had to write into the show for various actors without spoiling anything. We we had some tent poles of things we had to talk about. We also every year get a little update from Ubisoft, our producing partners, about the state of the video game industry. So we knew that there were like certain things within the industry that we really wanted to cover that we had been set up nicely to talk about, like user generated content and also AI. We knew that we really wanted to like comment in some way on that because it was such a big deal. So we had some directives, but also we had some new writers this year. So we did a lot of like, hey, you guys are fresh to the show. What's the thing that you love about it? What do you think we could be doing better? So all those things.
Ashley, what got you, besides the paycheck, what got you excited about going into season 4?
Don't tell her there's supposed to be a paycheck.
You get paid?
Bitcoin, you know.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, in Bitcoin, right. I just love the show, honestly. I mean, it sounds like a line, but it's not. I love being in the writer's room. I love our cast. I mean, Imani, who plays Dana, is one of my best friends now. I just really love the show. So it's always a joy to come back. And I feel like this season in particular, we took so many really fun swings, and I'm just so excited for people to see it. It's my favorite season, I think.
I love it too.
Yeah, so I just love it. It's like not hard to get excited about this show. It's so fun.
Oh, that's absolutely fair. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but episode 4 is my favorite.
Oh, thank you.
Megan, you directed that, right?
I did. And I co-wrote it with my husband. And it comes straight from like a deep, deep love I have of murder mysteries and Agatha Christie. I wasn't even in the room when you guys started breaking it. I was like working on a different episode in my office. And then all of a sudden, David's like opening the door and he's like, Gans, you're on this one. Like, this is going to be you because we know you like all that stuff. And then that was like really, really fun. And Ash was part of breaking that episode. And it was really cool to like have to think of a whole whodunit.
Yeah.
In that way. Dave, it's an inside joke. But to think of that whole thing was really fun. And to put all our characters in like fun costumes, like, and have you guys play little parts. It was all great. It's so funny because you do play parts, obviously, because you're actors playing it. But then when
it's like a weird nesting doll.
When you as the character get to dress up and act something, it's like extra fun. Yeah.
So besides episode 4, were there any other highlights, like episodes like I loved working on this episode? I can't wait for people to see this episode.
Well, selfishly, episode 5 I wrote and directed, so I really want people to see that one, especially because I really love the plot lines in that episode. I think you get to see a very different side of Dana, which I think is really fun. I think that's the first time I get paired with David.
Yeah.
Possibly.
The first time in a while.
First time in a while. And I really love getting paired with David.
Let's talk
business. And the I and Poppy storyline in that one is like a really great, and we get a returning character who is incredible. So yeah, I'm excited for people to see that one.
Megan, like, is there?
What else are we doing? I really love. There's an episode that Danny Pudi directed, which is our 9th episode of the season, and it's kind of like a constantly moving where you're tracking David the whole time. And so it's a very David-focused episodes, which are always my favorites. And the camera just kind of stays with him all of the time. And another key feature of that is that Ashley's husband Mort came back with his character, the sole characteristic of which is that he's addicted to porn. And for some reason they think it's funny, so we're going to keep putting back in things. So that's a really fun episode, and like directed by Danny Pudi, who did like a wonderful, amazing job. So, but all the episodes this year are like they're really fun, strong. Yeah, good season.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent season. I just like to thank you for your work on this and bringing this to the world, because this is one of the OG Apple Plus shows.
It
right?
is.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're still hitting it out of the park.
Oh, so, thank you.
Congratulations on that.
Very nice of you to say.
All right, so they're telling me I got to go, but thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait to tell people to watch Mythic Quest Season 4.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're the Film Blerds. I'm Brandon Norwood, and I'm the motherfucking protagonist.
I'm the protagonist.
I'm Jeff Stewart, a.k.a. He Who Remains.
Don't come at us. It's just fucking movies.
You've been listening to the Film Blerds podcast.
Man, I just love what you guys do, man.
I never miss an episode. It's the best. It's my favorite podcast.
Follow Jeff on IG on MindFireXL and Brandon on Twitter at BJN Tweets.